Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi amma ba'd. Alhamdulillah, today we're going to begin the Learn How to Read the Qur'an course. It's 10 weeks, and we're going to give you bi'idhnillah the tools to be able to learn how to read the Qur'an. And know that learning how to read the Qur'an, there's no secret to it. It requires a lot of repetition and training the tongue until it recites properly. A lot of repetition, daily, every single day. And know that in this gathering, as we sit here, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَا اجْتَمَعَ قَوْمٌ فِي بَيْتٍ مِّن بُيُوتِ اللَّهِ, that a people does not come together in one of the houses from the houses of Allah, يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُم. They sit in the masajid learning the book of Allah, learning it and teaching it. إِلَّا نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ السَّكِينَةِ, except that tranquility will descend upon them. وَغَشْيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةِ, and that they will be engulfed in mercy.
Go ahead.
وَحَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ, and the angels will surround them. وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ, and that Allah Ta'ala will mention them to those who are with Him, meaning the angels. So just sitting in these classes, just sitting in these gatherings, there's barakah, and there's blessings in it. And here, the class, it will be every Saturday and Sunday after Isha, and Sunday also after Asr. So Saturday and Sunday after Isha, and Sunday after Asr. So 2 classes on Sunday. Because on Sunday, what we're going to do, one class, we're going to be reciting. The next class, we're going to be practicing the letters and the words, how to read. Is that clear? So we're practicing both, reciting and reading. We need to do both. We can't do one without the other. So you have the tools, and also you're going to be practice, reciting, training the tongue. So today, we're going to do the alphabets. And while we're doing the alphabets, we want to be able to properly articulate each letter properly. When it comes to the letters, know that they have rights. When you pronounce each letter as a makhraj, an articulation point, where does it come from? And if you're unable to pronounce the letter properly, you won't be able to read the Qur'an properly. You have to be able to recite each letter properly. Because the letters are like the building blocks of a building. If the blocks that you're using to build a building are all corrupt and broken down, what do you think the building is going to be? But if the blocks that you're using to build a building are clean, strong, then that building will be what? Clean and strong. So these letters, you have to be able to pronounce them correctly. Know where they come from. Naam, is that clear? In the Arabic letter, we have heavy letters. We have light letters. You have to be able to know which is a heavy letter, which is a light letter. Where does the ba come from? Where does the fa come from? Where does the qaf come from? All of these letters. So today we're going to do half of the letters. Tayyib? And again, we're going to be repeating, because there's no secret to learning how to read the Qur'an. Constant repetition, you're training your tongue. Because your tongue is like a muscle. The more you work out, the stronger it becomes. And this is what we're doing, constantly repeating. Naam. So let's start with the first letter. The letter Alif. So everyone can repeat after me. Alif.
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 And be careful saying Alif, not Alif. Alif.
Alif.
The letter Alif, it comes from the bottom of the throat. The very bottom. Alif.
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 And know that each letter, you can spell it. How do you spell the letter Alif? Hamza, Lam, Alif. Is that clear? Alif.
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 Ba.
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 Be careful saying ba, not ba. Ba.
Ba.
And the ba, it comes from the lips, the 2 lips. Ba, ba, ba.
Ba.
And if you want to test where does the letter come from, you put a hamza before it and you make the letter sakin. For example, if you want to know where does the ba come from, how do you test it? You say ab. Ab. So you see that it comes from what? The lips. If you want to know where does the ta come from, how do you test it? At. All you do is you put a hamza before it and you make the letter sakin. That's how you test. Where does the letter come from? Is that clear? Ba. 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 And again, be careful saying ba, not ba. Ba. It's a light letter. Alif. Ba. Ta. Ta. The ta comes from, does anyone know where the ta comes from? Tip of the tongue is where? Behind the two front teeth. How do I test it? At. You see that? Ta. And ta is a light letter. What do I mean by light letter? The tongue is flat. Ta. 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 Go back to the beginning. Alif. Ba. Ta. Alif. Ba. Ta. Next letter. Tha. Where does the tha come from? Tip of the tongue is between the top and bottom teeth. You see that? Like tha. Thawab. Tha. Thawab. Tha. 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 Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. طيب. Who can tell me where does the ba come from? How do I test it? Put the hamza before it and make the ba sakin. Try it. Ab. So where does the ba come from? The two lips. Ahsan. Where does the ta come from? Who can test it?
The tip of the tongue.
Tip of the tongue is where? Behind the two front teeth. How do I test it? At. Where does the tha come from? At. Where does it come from? Where is the tip of the tongue? Between the top and bottom teeth. Do we see that? Now let's go back to the beginning. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. So, what is the difference between the letter that has 2 dots on top and 3 dots on top? The ta, which has 2 dots, the tip of the tongue is behind the two front teeth. At. The tha, which has 3 dots, the tip of the tongue is between the top and bottom teeth. At. Ta. Tha. So which one is ta? 2 dots or 3 dots? 2. Which one is tha? 3 dots. Next letter. Jim. You can't say jim, not jim. It's light. Jim. Yeah. Where does the jim come from? Test it. Ajr. Anyone can test it and tell me where it comes from? The middle of the tongue, it touches the top of the mouth. The top of the mouth, which is called the palate. Do you see that? Ajr. The middle of the tongue should be touching the palate. And the palate, there's 2. There's the soft palate, which is the back, and there's the hard palate, which is the front of the roof. Is that clear? Jim. Alif. Don't say alif. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. You guys ready for the next line? Inshallah? طيب. Ha. Be careful from saying ha. Not ha. The ha comes from the, who can test it? It comes from the throat, but what part of the throat? Not the top, close. The middle. The throat is divided into 3 categories. Top, middle, bottom. The ha comes from the middle. Like Rahim. Rahman. You can't say Rahman, not Rahman. Rahim.
Rahim.
Not Rahim. Rahim.
Rahim.
Ha. Not ha. 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 Middle of the throat. Ha. Kha. 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 Where does the kha come from? The top of the throat. How do I test it? Kha. The kha is a heavy letter. The kha is a what? Heavy letter. What does that mean? That means the back of the tongue should be going towards the palate. And the sound comes from the mouth. Kha. Whereas light letters, the tongue is flat. Ha. Kha. Do we see the difference? No, inshallah it will make more sense later on. Ha. Kha. Ha. Kha. Where does the ha come from? How do I test it? I want to test it. Where does it come from? Middle of the throat. Where does the kha come from? Top of the throat. How do I test it? Naam. Next letter. If I'm moving too fast, let me know. Am I moving too fast? طيب. If it's too fast, the recording will be available, inshallah. Next letter, ready? Dal. Dal. Be careful from saying dal, not dal. Listen carefully. Dal. 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 Not dal. 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 Where does the dal come from? The tip of the tongue. How do I test it? Adib. Adib. The tip of the tongue is touching the two front teeth. Adib. The behind the two front teeth. Adib. Dal. Dal. And be careful. How do I spell the letter dal? Who knows how to spell it? Remember, every letter is a letter, but you can spell it. That's how the Arabic language is so rich. Is that clear? The letter dal is dal, alif, lam. So there's a med in there. Where is the med? The alif. So it's not dal. 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 See that med, the alif in the dal? Naam. Next letter. Dal. 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 Where does the dal come from? Test it. The dal comes from the tip of the tongue, is between the top and bottom teeth. So what's the difference between dal and dal? What's the difference? The one without a dot, dal. Where does that come from? Behind the two front teeth. Adib. The one with the dot, dal. The tip of the tongue is between the top and bottom teeth. Is that clear? Dal. 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 Let's go back to the beginning. Alif. Alif. Ba. Ba. Ta. Ta. Tha. Tha. Jim. Jim. Ha. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dal. Not dal. 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 Next. Ra. Ra. Be careful from saying raw. Not raw. Ra. 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 There should be a little roll. The tip of the tongue is touching the palate with a little roll. Ra. 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 The ra, where does it come from? The tip of the tongue should be touching the palate with a little roll. But English speakers, we usually say raw. We usually bring it back, the tip of the tongue. Is this correct? No. The tip of the tongue should not be going back. It should be going towards the palate. Is that clear? Ra. The letter ra is a unique letter. Sometimes it's heavy. sometimes it's light. The letter Ra, sometimes it's heavy, sometimes it's light. When is it light and when is it heavy? The letter Ra, anyone knows? When is Ra, the letter Ra? The letter Ra, is it just a side point, you don't have to know it. But the letter Ra, whenever it has a fatha or a dhamma, it's heavy. But whenever it has a kasra, it's light. Is that clear? The letter Ra, when it has a fatha or a dhamma, it's what? It's a heavy letter. Ra, whenever it has a kasra, Ri, it's light. You see the difference? Ra, Ri, that's light. Do you see that? Naam. No. So the letter Ra is a unique letter. Sometimes it can be heavy, sometimes it can be light. When is it heavy? If it has two vowels. Either a fatha or a dhamma. When a Ra has a fatha or dhamma, it's heavy. Ra. But when it has a kasra, it's light. Ri. You see it? Now, let's go back to the beginning. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Ha. Not ha. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dhal. Ra. Za. Naam. So how do I test where does the za come from? Az. Where does the za come from? Huh? The tongue is flat, az. But where is it? The tip of the tongue is behind the bottom teeth. Az. You see that? Az. Naam. Let's go to the next letter. Sin. 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 Where does the sin come from? Same thing, same makhraj. As. Tongue is flat and the tip is behind the bottom teeth. Sin. Sheen. 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 Sin. Sheen. The sheen comes from the, anyone knows? Ash, the middle of the tongue. Ash. Naam. Let's go back to the beginning. Again, why do I keep going back to the beginning? Repetition. There's no secret to the Qur'an. No one's going to give you some secret you're going to learn. No. Repetition. Until you train your tongue. Little by little, you get better by the day. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Ha. Kha. Kha is a heavier letter. Heavy letter or light? Heavy. Ha is a heavier light? Light. Ha. Kha.
Salam, how are you?
Dal. Dal.
How are you?
Ra.
Salam alaikum. Can I get one of the other books, please?
Ra.
Just one, yes. I need to give all of them out, but I need one for now.
Sheen. Sod.
Is your father around?
Sod is a heavy letter. What does that mean? Sod. What does it mean to heavy letter? The back of the tongue should be going where? Towards the palate. And the mouth, the sound should be coming from the mouth. As. Whereas seen, as is light. Do we see that? So the sod, the tongue is flat, and the tip is where? Behind the bottom teeth. Likewise the sin, but the sin is what? Light. Whereas the sod is heavy. Is that clear? Sod. As-Samad. Sod. And how do you spell sod? Sod, alif, dal. So there's a med in there. There's a med. The alif is a med, and there's a qalqal on the dal. Sod. We see that? Dad. You kept saying dad, not dad. ضاد. The letter ضاد is the hardest letter of the Lugha Arabiyyah. And there's khilaf amongst the ulama of tajweed where it comes from. However, the most popular opinion is that the left side of the tongue should be touching or meeting with the left side of the top teeth. And it's a heavy letter. Al-Dha. So the tongue should be going upwards towards the what? The top teeth. Al-Dha. The left side of the tongue. Al-Dha. Dad. Not dad. 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 Sad. Dad. Sad. Dad. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dal. Ra. Za. Sin. Shin. Sad. Dad. Do you guys feel like you're ready to go to the next line? Inshallah?
One more time.
One more time? Alright. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dal. Who can tell me the difference between dal and dal? The one without a dot, the one with a dot. Dal. Dal. Who can tell me the difference?
Dal is between your teeth.
Which one?
Dal.
Dal, the tip of the tongue is between the top and bottom teeth. The one with the dot, right?
Yes.
Or without?
No, one with the dot.
Nah, the one with the dot is between the top and bottom teeth, the tip of the tongue. Dal. Now the one without a dot, the tip of the tongue is where? Behind the two front teeth. Dal. Both of them are light letters. Is that clear?
So we're stopping at God. We're not, because that's halfway.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Ra. Za. Sin. Shin. Sad. Dad. Remember, don't say dad, not dod. The tip of the tongue shouldn't be touching. It's the left side of the tongue meeting with what? The left side of your top teeth. The whole left side of the tongue. Dad. Not dad. That's a dal. Dad. Sad. Remember, sad. Give the dal the qalqala. Da. Sad. Dad. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Alif. Ba. Ta. Tha. Jim. Where does the alif come from? Bottom of the throat. Where does the ba come from? Two lips. Abid. Where does the ta come from? At. Tip of the tongue behind two front teeth. Where does the tha come from? At. Between the top and bottom teeth. Where does the jim come from? Ajr.
And once he announces the homework,
Ajr.
we can give it.
The middle of the tongue should be touching the palate. What is the palate? The roof. And we said the roof of the mouth has two sides. The soft side and the hard side. Where's the soft side?
Is still open?
The back. Where's the hard side of the palate?
It's still open. I can
The
get
front.
some for that.
Feel it with your tongue. With your tongue.
It's not.
Feel the
You're not
back of your
gonna
tongue and the roof. It's soft. Feel the front.
If
hard.
they're open, I can
You see that
run
or
and
no?
get some.
That's the palate. You have the
But
soft side. You have the hard side. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dal. Ra. Ha. Kha. Dal. Dal. the ha come
15
from?
more. 15 more. 15. And then
Middle
5
of the
more.
throat.
Get one.
Rahim.
A book.
Rahman. Where does the kha come from? Akh. Top of the throat. And we said kha is a heavy or light letter? Heavy. Where does the dal come from? Ad. Tip of the tongue behind? 2 front teeth. Where does the dal come from? The one with the dal. Ad. The tip of the tongue between the tongue and bottom teeth. This difference, dal and dal, is similar to tha, ta and tha. Do we see that or no? Ta and tha. Where does the ta come from? Same makhraj as the dal. Ad. Ad. Likewise, the tha and the dal have the same makhraj. Is that clear? Za. Sin. Sheen. Sad. Dad. Za. Sin. Sheen. Sad. Dad. Where does the za come from? Az.
Behind the bottom.
The tip of the tongue should be flat. It's a light letter, right? And the tip should be behind the bottom teeth. Az. Where does the sin come from? Likewise. As. Same makhraj. Tongue stays flat. As. And the tip of the tongue should be behind the bottom teeth. Where does the sheen come from? Ash. Ash. Middle of the tongue. Where does the sad come from? As. As. It's a heavy letter. So what does that mean it's a heavy letter? The back of the tongue should be going towards what? The palate. And the sound should be coming from the mouth. And the sad, the tongue is flat, and the tip should be behind the bottom teeth. Where does the wad come from? Al-da. Al-da. We said the left side of the tongue should be touching the entire left side of the top teeth. Al-da. It's a very heavy letter. Is that clear? No. You want to stop here, inshallah? You guys want to stop here? And then the homework?
We can tell them this one. We can show them this practice. They'll practice work on this, and we'll get it more, inshallah.
Brothers want to continue. Who wants to continue? And who wants to say this is enough? It's enough? Khair, inshallah. We'll stop here. Because the most important thing is what? Is that we practice the letters and where they come from. Not only memorize the letter, but where it comes from. So the homework is to memorize from alif to dad. Is that clear? Likewise, the homework. We said to get this book, Gateway to Arabic, is to write down from alif to dad, trace the letter. So you got to practice writing as well. So from page, I'm going to post, are you guys all following the Telegram? Everyone needs to follow the Telegram. I'm going to post the homeworks there and submit them to the Google Classroom. Are you guys following the Google Classroom?
Yes.
No, you guys got to follow the Telegram and the Google Classroom. So the homework is number 1, memorize alif to dad. With the makhraj, where does it come from? And the order. Likewise, trace the letter alif to dad from page 4 to 11 from the Gateway book. Is that clear?
You say Arabic to gateway?
A Gateway to Arabic, book 1. Now, trace letters alif to dad. So we're going to practice your what? Your writing. One of the best ways to learn to read is to write. One of the best ways to learn to read is to write. Tayyib? Anyone have any last questions?
I will be taking care of the homework tomorrow. Please make sure you do the work from page up to page 11 in the book, in this Gateway to Arabic book. So I think for those who are going to be consistent with the class, each person gets a free copy of this.
Nah, Jazakallah
also.
khair. Jazakallah. So he said, the Ustad said, whoever promises or has an intention to finish the entire book, the entire class, the Ustad himself, he will sponsor the book.
And this is going for
And this is going for the brothers and the sisters. The Ustad will sponsor it. But you have to be dedicated to finish the entire course. Is that clear? If you don't plan to finish the entire thing, then don't take the book.
It's on you.
It's by
It's
yourself.
in the house center.
If you're intending to finish the entire course, it's 10 weeks. He said he'll sponsor, inshallah. طيب? So the books that we need, Gateway to Arabic, book 1. Book 1. طيب? Homework is what? No, should they go?
Dawah center, correct. Dawah center. Yes, but we have some now. We have some copies now. Yes.
Do you want them to go to Dawah Center and say, how do you want them to?
No, we have some now.
But the sisters as well.
They can go to this house center.
And just say.
And they just say that it's for this class.
Okay.
Yes.
No. So the Ustad said, go to the Dawah Center and just mention that it's for the class. Inshallah, the Ustad will sponsor it, inshallah.
I can give
For
him
those who intend to complete the entire course, may Allah Ta'ala reward him, make it heavy on his scale on the Day of Judgment. طيب, so is that clear? And again, akhi, ikhwan and akhawat, it's only 10 weeks. طيب, it's 10 weeks on the weekends. We're trying to make it as easy as possible, free of charge. We don't want anything from you except to what? Come learn how to read the Book of Allah. That's it. 10 weeks, inshallah, we're going to help you every way that we can until you learn how to read the Book of Allah. And we're here for you throughout the course, inshallah. Anyone have any last questions? Naam.
I need the
Naam. The Telegram. Everyone has to follow the Telegram and the Google Classroom. Naam. Everyone follow the Telegram and the Google Classroom. The homework, you submit the homework to the Google Classroom. And then we're going to check it and we're going to submit it to you back. The homework has submitted on the Google Classroom.
Yes.
Naam. So everyone has to follow the Google Classroom. Naam.
The homework is due when?
The homework is due tomorrow.
The homework, yes.
Write down from Alif to Dad, trace the letters. And memorize the letters and where they come from. And tomorrow, next class tomorrow is Sunday after Asr and Sunday after Isha. So we have 2 classes
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I know, but this
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Sunday, the recitation one is after Asr. And the one where we're doing the book is after Isha. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. نعم.